the Ravens are in a good position. The franchise tag deadline did pass. The deal with Justin Madubuike was not done, but it's not a surprise. Why don't we start there on what Ravens fans can hope to expect as we move forward into this offseason?
Yeah, so, long story short on Madubuike, it was the franchise tag applied to him, which means right now it's a 1-year fully guaranteed $22.1 million deal. Now, that doesn't mean he's locked into the tag. There can be an extension up till July 15th. Then after that, he's locked into play on that tag. Now, ideally, what the Ravens would do here is they would sign him to an extension before free agency starts on Monday. That's the tampering period. The actual new league year starts 2 days later on Wednesday. Now, the franchise tag number for Madubuike is going to impact potentially how the Ravens can maneuver through free agency, because they went from about $12 to $13 million under the cap to $10 million over it, with the Madubuike fully guaranteed $22.1 million. Now, there are a couple different ways the Ravens can free up that space. The Bills right now, every team has to get under the salary cap by the time the free agency period starts. That includes the Ravens. So there are a couple of moves they can make, including extensions, restructures, cut candidates. I think the obvious one, you can actually save, I think, $11.1 or $2 million just by by restructuring Lamar Jackson's deal. That by itself would get them under. But you also can look at potential cut candidates like Tyus Bowser, who would save them $5.5 million. I don't know what in the world was going on with Bowser. It seemed like there was maybe a disconnect between Bowser and the team in terms of his injury. He didn't play all last year. The big one, though, was Ronnie Stanley. I think that's where everybody's looking towards. They can save $15 million if they release him as a post-June 1 cut, so that money would be available after June 1st. But they can maybe approach him for a restructure and maybe say, hey, give us back half of this money. We'll restructure your deal, this, that, and the other. Morgan Moses, another candidate, Patrick Ricard. And then the only other one I see is Patrick McCary, but even I don't see that. I don't think they're going to release him. There are a couple other guys who you could save money with, but it just makes no sense whatsoever. So the Ravens will be under the salary cap by the time free agency starts. Just a matter of how they end up doing. If they're in a decent spot, I expect them to have anywhere from $20 to $30 million, probably more so towards like 20 by the time free agency starts. And that's enough to go and re-sign some of your own guys and make those deals backloaded, so you are able to maximize free agency this year. And then maybe it is bringing in Derrick Henry or one of these cap casualties we're seeing. Maybe Trey White is a fun name to think about in that secondary. So we'll see what happens, but they're in a much better situation than some of the teams in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, we like to fantasize, right? We like to go to that magical place and think what can be. I mean, Zach does it every single hour on Twitter specifically, and Rocco does it every other day. Yeah, no, Rocco's a pretty civil guy. Rocco, can we bring you back out yet? Are you okay? Oh, there you are.
Oh, that's a clip. That's a face.
Oh goodness, we were worried for a moment. But hearing all,
were you?
What
were you now?
That's gonna be clipped. Why would you?
Yeah, you're a good kid. But with all this, Rock, the point with it, going with this, we mentioned all these names. More than likely, and I think people already know this, I'm just gonna say it out loud. And not that I want this to be what's the phrase when you say it into existence, it happens.
Speak it
into existence, right? Manifest.
Oh,
I don't want this to manifest, but if Madubuike is going to be a Raven, hopefully, it probably, as everyone assumes, Patrick Queen is not going to be a Raven. Going to be sad. You've gotten to experience and seen PQ in so many ways, but realistically, Rock, like that's probably what's going to happen if you're going to hold on to Madubuike, which I think we're all in agreement here on this panel. That guy's got to stay in Baltimore.
Yes.
Yeah. The writing's kind of been on the wall with Patrick Queen, and it's unfortunate because I think the Ravens would love nothing more than to have Queen here, but not picking up his fifth-year option last year and then drafting the guy you expect to be his replacement in Trenton Simpson. The Ravens already did the legwork to kind of push Queen along the way and say, hey, man, like, thank you for your time here, but we're going to move on. We got to pay other guys. I hate it, and only because I wish there was more money for the Ravens to come to a deal with Queen and give him what he's worth, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. What I want to say about the Ravens and the franchise tag with Madubuike, I think it's a good thing because the Ravens have been historically great with franchise tagging guys and getting deals done. They've done it 9 times since they've been here in Baltimore doing this, and 2 times they weren't able to come to a new agreement with a player. One of those instances was the first player they franchise tagged, that was Wally Williams. And then the second one was more recently, that was Matthew Judon. But when they franchise tag someone, they have full plans of bringing them back and bringing them back for a long-term deal. And you could kind of look at this as an extension of being able to negotiate, because now you have up until July to get that long-term deal done with Justin Madubuike. We saw it last year with Lamar Jackson. It was like, at the time, it seemed like it was the end of the world, because the non-exclusive, everyone was like, oh no, Lamar can negotiate with teams. And then no teams went after Lamar for one reason or another, maybe because they knew he was going to stay here in Baltimore. But the Ravens eventually got a deal done with him. I really expect them to get the same done with Justin Madubuike and agree to a long-term deal with him.
I think, and again, what we say, if he wants $100 million,
Billions.
then you give the man what he wants. And Madubuike, and he deserves it. Give him the truckload. And a last point here, and we'll move on from this subject. Kevin, you got something?
Yeah, so with the non-exclusive tag, is that's what Madubuike actually got, with Rocco saying, I agree. It's when you franchise tag a guy, you have every intention of getting that guy under contract. Now, there is a scenario where Madubuike could leave, and that's where he can negotiate with another team, and then a team signs him to an offer sheet. And then if that ends up being agreed upon, the Ravens would get 2 first-round picks back. That's the conversation we had about Lamar last year with the non-exclusive tag. Now, I think it's vastly different for a quarterback as opposed to any other position there. Plus, we were unsure what Lamar's future was going to look like. I think it's only happened, literally once, and it was a long time ago, where a guy's actually switched teams after being franchise tagged, and that thing was actually put to use and that trade happened. So the franchise tag pretty much all but secures Madubuike in Baltimore in 2024. Now the question is, does he play on that franchise tag, or is an extension agreed upon before that July 15th deadline?
We just said about manifesting things. Do not manifest that shit.
I was not manifesting. I was just giving facts.
Kevin's almost giving facts. Madubuike, go get signed somewhere else. That's what he's saying right there. Verbatim. That's Chaos Striker 34. Was that right?
There you go.